From a persuasive warlock up to no good to a player who will probably end up in jail in the next couple of years, I'm Saya from Tabletop Mayhem, and if you enjoy these Reddit RPG horror stories, please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Our two stories tonight are absolutely wild, so let's get into it. Our first story. DM allows player to roll persuasion to force all of the players to give him all of their money. Just before a short rest, a warlock who had developed a reputation for harebrained schemes and general silliness stated that he wanted to persuade the table to give all of their money to him. He didn't provide much of an actual argument. He simply stated something like, "You should give me all of your money. I will keep it safe." The DM, this is a 5e campaign, told him to roll persuasion, which he did, getting a high roll. I think it was 17. 3 players within earshot were then told to roll persuasion, and 2 of them came up short, including me. The DM then told us that our characters were persuaded and that we relinquish all of our gold to the warlock. I have a fundamental issue with this. I do too. I don't necessarily have a problem with the PvP aspect of this, as we've had already engaged in some mild physical skirmishes and headbutting amongst the party, but I think that the reason to roll for anything within the party should be to simulate something that can't be acted out well, and persuading the party can and should be acted out. Obviously, it is a very different story if the player in question is using an actual spell like charm. And even if we accepted that such thing could happen via roll, I feel like the roll to resist the persuasion should have been made at advantage or with a significant bonus, as getting someone to give up their money for no reason should be a very difficult task. In this case, I was also wary of the warlock due to previous interactions, so I feel like I should have received an additional bonus due to being naturally less likely to view the warlock suggestion favorably. This is the DM's first campaign, and the second one I've ever been a part of as a player. Half the table has never played D&D before, so sessions are very slow as we figure stuff out. And in general, he is doing a fantastic job. This was our 3rd session, and I'm really enjoying my time at the table. It's just that this one incident really made my blood boil a bit. This is not how persuasion works. I think people are really confused about that, but you cannot convince somebody to do something that they would absolutely never do. And I know you're like, oh, this is just money. No, you can't convince somebody to murder their husband. You cannot convince somebody to cheat on their wife. You cannot convince somebody to kill themselves, no matter if you rolled a nat 20 or not. That's just not something that you can do. The only way that persuasion works in situations like that is if someone's standing on the cliff pondering if they should do it. If somebody is drunk in the bar and they just got in a fight with their spouse and they're feeling really vulnerable. Well, it's sleazy, don't do that, but that would be a situation where you could probably persuade somebody to cheat on their spouse. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't convince somebody to do something that they would just not do. But it shouldn't have got to this point. What should have happened is that the character, the warlock, should have approached this player and should have role-played the conversation, and that character should have said, absolutely not, that would never happen, not in 1,000 years. Or they could have said, maybe you can convince me, maybe my character would be open to this, but they make that decision based on their relationship and their thoughts and their beliefs and, what they think that their character would fall for. And in that situation, they would get an advantage on that role if they choose that that's something they might be able to be convinced of. But if the character says absolutely not, it's not going to happen. And I don't think that the DM did make a bad call in the situation, but the DM's new. So let's support our new DMs. So approaching the DM with the information on how things such as persuasion, how mass suggestion works in campaigns, just read up on it. This is a very, very noob mistake, absolutely. But I would nip this in the bud because this can potentially turn into something really manipulative and really gross later in game. And it feels like this is session 3 and a warlock is already trying to do this. I would be really wary and try to handle it earlier game than later game. And I can already tell you right now, this is going to be an issue because this is your 3rd session and you've already stated that you've had skirmishes. So PvP fistfights, I'm sure is what that meant in game. And I'm wondering if it had to deal with this particular player. Maybe not, but you guys should work on a little bit of better communication and, you know, just read the rules. It's okay not to know, just, you know, be humble enough to accept new knowledge and you'll have better games. I promise you, you'll have better games. Our second story is hella long, but it's very much worth it, so settle in. Butthurt D&D player sends malware to DM's computer after his character died. This story is kind of awkward because we're all friends who play D&D on Discord. To top it off, my cousin, the Aarakocra monk, is still best friends with that guy, the Aarakocra wizard of the story. The DM also happens to be dating one of the players, the Orc Ranger, and I'm a halfling cleric. Our mission started in a castle of this noble. We were all this noble's courtiers until she sent us out on our first mission. After that mission, we gained some XP and she sent us out to explore the world for suspicious hobgoblin activity. We didn't find the hobgoblin she was worried about, but ended up in some dragonborn empire that held a very powerful magical item. Now, the Aarakocra wizard was a klepto. He was always trying to steal, and if stealth didn't work, he'd just kill the people who caught him. Notably, he ended up killing a dragonborn prince after he snuck into the prince's treasury looking for armor, loot, magic items, etc., and he got caught. He killed the prince after the prince saw him looting, an action we strongly advised against, might I add, and then he tried to hide the prince's body by casting plane shift and sending him into another realm. He failed automatically, though, because he was not even supposed to have plane shift at his level. Oh my God. After then, got caught and faced the wrath of the dragonborn emperor. We were all arrested. The rest of us disavowed his actions, except for my cousin, the monk, and were granted a pardon if we embarked on a dangerous quest to find the evil sword, the magic item we came for in the first place. But the wizard was kind of caught red-handed, so he was to be executed, as was monk. The wizard tried to escape using a hypnotic pattern. Unfortunately, guards passed, and he panicked, throwing all spells from Acid Splash to Fireball to even trying to sneak in the Meteor Swarm of all spells. Again, he obviously wasn't going to be able to cast a spell like that at his level. My God! The guards then asked him for his last words, as now the player was now raging in real life, and then he was killed. Beautiful. The wizard player was now screaming, "Are you serious?" And the DM tried to, in the kindest terms, explain that this game would not be fun without potential dire consequences for dangerous action. Wizard player kept going off, and my cousin tried to join in and said that the DM was being unfair. Me and the DM's boyfriend defended the DM, and the wizard just started shouting at us too. The argument ended when the wizard player called her the C word at that point until she had enough and kicked the wizard from the call. She was very emotional, so me and the DM's boyfriend confronted that guy on my phone. He, for some reason, tried to deny it even though it was on his Discord profile. He claimed that he was hacked, but when pressed, he just got pissed off again and basically admitted it and blamed the DM for making him resort to extreme action. Me and the DM's boyfriend told him that what a piece of shit he was, and then he kept trying to justify it, saying that we cyberbullied him. Her computer wouldn't have been affected if we weren't so old and shitty, and that he was doing her a favor by making her get a new one, and then mocked her for not having the antivirus program. Bear in mind that the DM is crying in the background. At the end of the back and forth, DM's boyfriend was angrier than I, and even told him that if we ever see him again, he would knock his teeth out, and then we hung up. After the incident, we reported his actions to Discord. He stopped speaking to him. All of us except my cousin, who said that he gets that he went too far, but says he just has trouble with his emotions and tried to subtly blame us for being so hard on him. He even convinced DM not to press charges. However, she still obviously refused to speak to him and told my cousin to stop trying to relay his messages to her or defend him. The player in this story is absolutely deranged. The amount of time it would take you to compile a bunch of viruses and to even think about that and then to like send them out to somebody, I mean, that took quite a bit of time. I'm sure, I don't know, I've never done anything like that, but it makes me feel like this person probably has like a file somewhere that they pull from, so they've probably done this before. I wouldn't even ever think to do something like that, but I'm not a deranged psychopath. This is absolutely just disgusting, vile behavior, and the the cousin, the friend of the player, the cousin of whoever is in this game justifying this behavior is really, really awful. I would kick them both out. I'm sorry, but we have to hold each other accountable for terrible actions. And what's really kind of interesting is that they weren't even kicking him out of the campaign. They just ended a character. There was no way out for this character. There was no way out. I mean, he wasn't just stealing stuff, he was killing people, and he willingly killed a prince. There was no way out for this character. And honestly, I thought this was a really good way of letting this character go and allowing the player to continue in the campaign with a better fit. I've done YouTube shows about why I don't think that like evil characters work in good campaigns. And this is exactly why. Like it's so disruptive and it's so awful, and it's not bullying if you're doing something bad and people don't like that. You're not the victim, you're not being bullied. You're the bad guy, you're the villain in this situation. Absolutely unbelievable. But to have somebody trying to justify the behavior, atrocious. I actually think that's worse, honestly. Like, you're allowing this person and you're justifying this person to be able to continue behaving this way instead of learning from it. And honestly, I would file a police report. I 1000% would, because the malice that went into this action, unbelievable. Absolutely. This is an atrocious person. Well, there you have it. Two incredibly crazy stories. The second more so. I really cannot get over that second story. And I think that this is just a good time to remind everybody that we should surround ourselves with people that hold us accountable for our bad decisions. And we are all human beings. We're all going to make mistakes, but learning from those mistakes and surrounding ourselves with people who support us in being better people is really important. We also need to remember that D&D is a collaborative game where we're supposed to work together. Again, we make mistakes. We are human, but to be able to accept that and to move forward as better people is, all we can really ask. So make sure that your friends are good people and that you're making good decisions. And if you're not, you're learning from those decisions. Otherwise, go to jail. You're going to end up in jail like our second player. He might not go to jail over this, but I can see this escalating into something much worse for him. With that, I'm very curious on your thoughts. Please share below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.